How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to finish the four-part series on these small concealment boxes. The first of which was how to build the box. The second of which was how to make this flag without the CNC, because in the first one I showed you how I make it with the CNC. And then the third one was how to cut the foam insert for the inside. And this last, the fourth one, will be how to mount it onto the wall. So if that's something you'd like to learn how to do, then stick around, because that's what we're doing today. So if you remember from the first video in this series, the way that this box was designed so that I could have the thinnest possible backing on it so that I could get the lowest profile for the box to sit against the wall, was that I used these metal brackets on the inside for hanging. Now, because of the size of the box, these are not 16 inches apart. But honestly, this thing doesn't weigh that much, and even with something that's a couple of pounds in there, it's not going to be so much that a couple of drywall anchors will not hold this up. So, you can just use drywall anchors in any position. Ideally, obviously, you would want to get a stud if you could. Now, if you could find two studs that were this distance apart, then that would be good. Or if you just had one that you could run these two in the center, that would be just as well. In the case of where I'm hanging it today that I showed you, there's a window right next to the door, so there's studs that are actually this distance apart, so we're going straight into the studs on those. But like I said, chances are you're not going to have that in your situation, so drywall anchors will be just fine. My recommendation is that you use the plastic ones that screw in, the good ones that you get from Home Depot, not some cheap ones from the 99-cent store. I've had a lot of good experience with those, and those seem to hold much better than the type that you drill a hole and then tap them in with the hammer. I always have those fall out or break or cause all kinds of problems when I'm trying to put them in. So I recommend using the screw-in type. But anyway, either way, it would work. You just have to set your anchors or find your studs and then mount using number 8 or number 10 will fit screws through any or all 4 of these holes, however you want to mount it. But that's how we're going to do it today. We're going to use these 2 holes to mount directly to the studs on that section of the wall that I showed you earlier. So let's get to it. All right, so I'm going to start by holding the box up here to get an idea of what height I want it to be at. And I know where I want it because based on my height, and I want it to be right about here. Now, the ideal thing for me, and probably for my wife as well, would be to center it in this area. And I will check with her, but I think I'm going to put it over here because I'll be able to easier get the stud that's on this side, which we'll show you in a minute. But we have extra ones that come all the way out on this side that will also cover that side if I do it this way. Now, I'll be fine if I go to this way also, but if I do that, I'll have to put an anchor on this side. So this is where we're going to go, and what I did was I just opened up the box and I took a pencil and I put some small marks on the wall when it was here so I could see where they're at, and now I can use the stud finder to see how close I am as far as where the studs are at and where I want to put the holes at. So I know there's no studs here, but as you can see, there's nothing in this area. One mark is here. I don't know if you can see it on camera. The other one is there. So that's where they would be spread out if I were to put the box all the way against the frame of the door here. So we're going to see where this last stud is on this side, and it's right there. As you can see, this will be almost exactly centered on that stud. And then there's a couple of them here because it goes all the way to the window frame. And then we're going to check this side. And we've got one that comes out to there, which means this hole will be almost exactly centered on that stud as well. And that's going to be the ideal place for me to put it in this situation. Yours might differ. Again, you can try to put it in a place that has a stud in the center. Or if you absolutely need to, just use anchors because they'll work just as well. Just to be on the safe side, I decided to pop the cover off of this wall outlet to make sure that the box was actually mounted to a stud, which I was relatively certain was right there on the right side of the outlet. However, I wanted to be 100% sure because you never know when it comes to wiring. And that being said, If you're not comfortable drilling in the place where you need to put this or where you want to drill at in your house, make sure you ask somebody who knows or get professional help, because you definitely do not want to accidentally drill into a gas line or an electrical wire or anything like that. When it comes to electrical wires, one of the easiest ways to tell if there is one in that area of the wall or not is if you have an outlet, a plug, or some sort of switch like this on the wall, then clearly there's electricity going to that, so there is a wire in there somewhere. So again, if you don't have the confidence or the experience to do this, then just make sure you get help from somebody who does. There are much more expensive tools that will show you what's actually behind the wall, as far as, is it metal, is it wood, is it a electrical line, whatever. But I mean, again, if you have any experience doing this, you've probably drilled a bunch of holes in your drywall and into studs before. So, just make sure that you're comfortable doing it. And if you're not, get some help or advice from somebody who is. In this case, once I got that cover off, I could see clearly that the electrical box was mounted to a stud on that right side. I could see the stud, so I knew it was there. So I knew there was no danger at all going straight into the stud. All right, so I've decided to go with these 2-inch Torx head screws. I think they're number 10s. And I'm using a drill bit that is just slightly the same or maybe slightly smaller than the shank of the bit, minus the size of the heads, to drill through the drywall and get a little start on the wood behind there. And once the pilot holes are drilled, the only thing left to do is to hold the box in place and drive your screws in. And finally, just reinstall your foam insert, place whatever items that you're concealing into your box back into the box, and find a good hiding place for your key. That's going to wrap it up for this video and this series on the small concealment boxes. And if you got anything out of this video, please do all those things that the YouTube algorithm likes to see. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications, that sort of stuff. And I'll see you on the next one. As always, thanks for watching. Stay safe and happy woodworking. See you next time.